Today we're going to focus on partitioning figures into halves, thirds, and fourths. And we're actually going to focus more on halves and fourths. I want you to think for a second about what partition means. And I hope that what comes to mind is that it means to split apart, but the key word here is that it's split into equal parts. So every part will have the same amount. They will be the same when we are partitioning and splitting them. So if I take a look at this rectangle, we are going to split it in half. And there's a few different ways you can do that. The first way we're going to look at is by drawing a vertical line directly down the center of our rectangle. It's kind of hard on a smartboard, but I think that's pretty equal. So what I just created are two equal parts. This side on the left is the same as this side on the right. And I can represent that with a fraction 1/2. And this side is also 1/2. So if I have 1/2 over here and 1/2 over here, I can show my whole rectangle by saying that I have 2 halves. 1/2 on this side and 1/2 on this side is 2 halves, which gives me my whole rectangle here that's circled in red. 2 halves make the whole. Now, there's also another way that you can split or partition your rectangle in half. And this time I'm going to use blue. And I can do that by splitting it horizontally. I can draw a same horizontal line across the center of my rectangle. So first we made a vertical line down from the top to the bottom. Now we're making a horizontal line from the left side to the right side. And now we've created 1/2 on top and 1/2 on the bottom. And again, we can see that this 1/2 and this 1/2, if I put them together, I will get 2 halves. One from the top and one from the bottom. And those 2 halves make up my whole rectangle here. When I put those 2 halves together, I get a whole rectangle. And lastly, I can make halves on my rectangle in one more way. And this way is kind of a way that we don't see as often. And we're going to use green for this. And we're going to draw a diagonal line from one vertices or corner to another. And here I split my rectangle into 1/2 and 1/2. And what shape did I create? I created a triangle over here. And I also created a triangle over here. And these triangles are equal. They're the same size. And again, I have 1/2 over here and 1/2 over here, which gives me 2 halves to make a whole. My whole rectangle needs 2 halves to be a whole. Now, I know that we just saw a few different ways. If we think back to what we just did, we created halves in a few different ways, and we got different shapes. We got triangles here, we had squares when we cut it horizontally, and we had rectangles when we cut it vertically. Now, all of those are different shapes, but they're all still equal parts showing a half. And all of those you'll learn in a few years are all equal as well. So now that we've split into halves, I'm going to show you one more way that we can partition this rectangle evenly, and that's into fourths. So we're going to split it into 4 parts. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a vertical line down the center of my rectangle, and I just created halves, remember? 1/2 over here and 1/2 over here. But instead of stopping this time, I'm going to also cut my figure in half horizontally. And now I have created 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can name each of those 1/4. 1/4 here, 1/4 here, 1/4 here, and finally 1/4 over here. Now, each of these fourths are also equal. They all show the same amount of space. And when I add them all together, I get 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4/4 that make my whole rectangle. And that's all we're going to get into for now. And later in the week, we will do partitioning figures into thirds. Thanks for listening.